Tonight on Nebraska Nightly, a look at the critters here in Lincoln Animal Shelters.
Plus Quilting Day at the International Quilting Museum.
And stay right with us for an exclusive live interview with University of Nebraska Lincoln's Athletic Director, Trev Alberts.
Something you will only say here on Nebraska Nightly.
Live from the University of Nebraska College of Journalism and Mass Communications, this is Nebraska Nightly.
Thank you for joining us for this special edition of Nebraska Nightly. I'm Elena Tomish.
And I'm Macy Neumeister. Starting out our show today, we have a very special guest with us, the University of Nebraska Lincoln's Athletic Director, Mr. Trev Alberts.
Nebraska Nightly's Nathan Hawkins has the honor of speaking with him today. Nathan?
Thanks, Elena. I'm here with Vice Chancellor and Director of Athletics, Trev Alberts. Alberts took over the athletic program in the summer of 2021. Since, he's navigated the Huskers through the name, image, and likeness era, strategized a 15-year plan for Husker athletics, and has promoted a need for innovation. Mr. Alberts, thank you for being here today.
Well, thank you, Nate. It's a real honor to be with you guys.
So you're nearing 2 years in your role as athletic director. In your role, how do you define your success?
Well, we don't think a lot about our success. At the end of the day, in the athletic department, we talk a lot about our culture is, we have almost 600 student athletes. At the end of the day, none of us would have a job if it wasn't for those student athletes. And so what we're really focused on is how do we serve young men and young women, how do we help them not only in their arena of competition, but academically and trying to grow them through life skills. So our success, frankly, is the success of our students. Watching them compete, succeed, watching them graduate on time, and do amazing things in the community. That's ultimately how we define success in the athletic department.
Now, a big thing of yours has been innovation throughout Nebraska athletics. You've had the Go Big project, obviously a new era of the NIL, and you've also kind of looked forward at Memorial Stadium. You sent out surveys, and I think fans want to know can they expect renovations at Memorial Stadium?
Yeah, I think you can expect renovations at Memorial Stadium. What we aren't prepared today to talk about is what those look like and what the timeline is. And as you can imagine, we're celebrating 100 years at Memorial Stadium. And so it's pretty cool, and we're excited about that. And you're going to see a lot of things this fall relative to 100 years. The reality is we've got some modernization that needs to happen, not only in our physical structure, but within our athletic department. We always say this in athletics, you never stay the same. You either get better or you're sliding. And so it's just like when you're working out, right? You're either getting better in better shape or you're never staying the same. So we have to be very careful as we think about Memorial Stadium. I mean, it's an iconic structure that means a lot to Nebraskans. And so rather than barreling forward into some sort of vision for the future, we're being very thoughtful and very careful. So we're going through a process now, started with the fans, wanted the fans' feedback and experience. And ultimately, and students as well. It's going to be a very big component. Right. At the end of the day, students at the University of Nebraska, they become your alums, they become your donors. So we want to ensure that that voice is heard as well. And then look at a modernization plan that makes sense for the next 25 and 50 years. So we'll be thoughtful. We've got a committee working on it right now. We've got great community leaders. The university's been very supportive, Chancellor Green and President Carter. And ultimately, we'll be presenting a vision back to them later this summer that the Board of Regents will ultimately approve or not approve based on what the final results are. So a lot of things happening in college athletics. Your physical structure is one, lots of changes. You mentioned NIL, innovation. The reality is getting yourself comfortable being uncomfortable is really important in modern athletics, and it's something that our department's striving to do every day.
Now, you mentioned being uncomfortable with the uncomfortable, and that can sometimes come with the new, including name, image, and likeness, which has kind of been described as the wild, wild west. But so far, Nebraska's positioned themselves in a great spot in that wild situation. They're top 10 in NIL money, top 5 in NIL deals. Why has Nebraska positioned themselves in that position, and how?
Well, I think there's really two reasons for that. First and foremost, it really speaks to our fan base. Nebraskans love their university. They love the investment of the university into our state, and so they want to support young people. And so that's been really good. But I think the other thing is, and I give a lot of credit to our staff, is that we created an NIL vision that's reflective of the values that our fans and our alumni hold dear. Meaning, to us, we're trying to do the best we can, obviously, to do it according to NCAA rules. But we haven't strayed from our values of course we want student athletes to be able to monetize their name, image, and likeness. But it's still going to be tied to the educational component and values that we hold dear at the University of Nebraska. So things like, beyond just life skills on financial literacy and all of those things that come with NIL, the University of Nebraska is trying to do right by our student athletes and to do it the right way. And so I think donors see that. They want to obviously win, but they also want to do it the right way. Right. And this is a department, I think, that for years has made the commitment through integrity of trying to operate in the right way, and I think donors have responded to that.
Well, it's certainly a hot pressing issue of the now, but many people are looking at the future. And there's a large belief that the future of athletics and compensation will include athletes receiving a portion of that compensation. When do you think that will happen, and is Nebraska prepared for that time?
Well, it's exactly the point. It's a great question, and I feel like it's my responsibility, and not just me only, but our leadership team's responsibility to position for Nebraska for the eventuality of whatever comes our way. The hardest part about this is it's like you think about football trying to kick a field goal. When the goalpost consistently switches all over the place, it's pretty hard to be accurate. And so our job is to try to anticipate trends, anticipate where those goalposts are going to switch to. There's no guarantee that student athletes will be deemed employees. There's no guarantee. But the reality is, I think there's over 400 active lawsuits against the NCAA right now. And we as a membership have not had a great track record of winning those lawsuits. And so, as you see time and time again, you can sort of see where this is going. And what I'm trying to position the athletic department for is recognizing that at some point, a portion of the revenue that we're self-generating, because our athletic department receives no state support or student fees, we generate everything we spend, and we have a surplus. But if at some point we have to share that revenue directly with student athletes, and it could be significant, what is the plan and vision to backfill lost revenue? It can't be to go to the university and say, hey, we're going to need state support. That can't be our vision. And so there's really two alternatives. You find new revenue, or you eliminate expenses. And I've been through eliminating sports programs. It's not fun. Right. And obviously that's not something we want to do here. So we're really focused on how do we find new revenue? How can we look for new, innovative, creative ways? And so you'll start to see some of those types of things, doing concerts like we did with Garth Brooks, doing the volleyball day in Nebraska. While that's not the primary reason why we're doing it, we can think differently and more innovatively about opportunities to activate our facilities beyond just your traditional football, volleyball, those types of things. We're going to have to do that. We're going to have to think differently, and we're going to have to do things that on the surface aren't very comfortable or things we haven't done in the past. Right. We have to be committed to that, and we are.
And you mentioned volleyball days briefly in there. I want to talk about that briefly. I think it's safe to say it's the first event of its kind. How do you dream up an event like that without really any precedent?
Well, we're taking a lot of risk, let's be honest. I think late August in Nebraska, there's a fairly reasonable chance it's going to be very warm, and there could be thunderstorms. But, we just can't be paralyzed in fear. And so, I really pushed our team to think differently. I'm competitive, and volleyball in the state of Nebraska is very, very important. And we lost the record for attendance in a collegiate volleyball game during the regular season. And unfortunately, between Omaha and Lincoln, we don't have a facility that's large enough to surpass the record that Wisconsin made. So we started just thinking about what happens if, after we did the Garth Brooks concert, it was a lot of fun. Now, it happened to be great weather. We brought a different audience to Memorial Stadium. Like, what about bringing other people to the stadium that maybe not interested in football? So we do the concert, it goes well, we try different things. And then we just started thinking about, well, what if we'd just come off of celebrating 50 years of Title IX. And the impact of volleyball in the state of Nebraska, not just in Lincoln, is so large. And so we just thought about, hey, well, how about celebrating volleyball, celebrating women's athletics, and doing it in the most male venue there is, and do everything for those young women that we do for football, like the tunnel walk and flyovers and all that great stuff. And then celebrate with other schools in the state that also are benefiting from volleyball. And then at the end, let's do a concert just to top it all off. Put this on the Big Ten Network and show the nation just how important volleyball is and how serious the University of Nebraska is relative to Title IX and female student athletes.
Now, just before we go, I want to ask about something more on the field performance in terms of Fred Hoiberg. He just wrapped up season, finished at 500. You said there was undeniable progress, and I just want to know your thoughts on his season and about him in his position as head coach.
Yeah, Fred's, I've really enjoyed getting to know Fred. And, one of the challenges or interesting things is you come into an organization like this, you suddenly are leading an organization and people report to you that you didn't hire. And so, obviously, I've been very focused initially on trying to get our football program steered in the right direction.
Sure.
I've really appreciated Fred's willingness to think differently. And I think if you look at the team this year, obviously, that last game was not what we anticipated, in the Big Ten tournament. But prior to that, some very significant cultural changes, not only the culture, but X's and O's on the court, his approach. And I think you could see, that was the type of team, number one, Nebraskans are proud of. I'm really passionate about this. We need sports teams that our fans identify with and are proud of. So the way they shared the basketball, their toughness, the way they played defense, they gave themselves a chance. And so I think that 180 shift from previous visions was important. It doesn't happen overnight, but in my estimation, there was fairly significant progress in the style of play and frankly in the results. But Fred knows, and all of our coaches know, we are in the competition business. We get defined by wins and losses. So we can't run from that reality. We need to embrace it, and at the end of the day, winning matters.
Well, thank you so much for joining us here today. I know you've got to run over to Hawks Field and be part of the jersey retirement of some Husker legends, so we really appreciate you taking this time with us today.
This has been a real highlight for me today, and I'm glad that you guys had me. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, we're going to head to break, but stay tuned. There's weather coming up.
Toilets can use 5 to 7 gallons per flush, making it the main source of water use in a home. You can lose more than 20 gallons of water a day from a single drippy faucet. Kitchen faucets use about 1.5 to 2 gallons per minute, whereas older faucets use more water. Wasting water is wasting time. Stop water waste now.
Don't let it happen to other Big Ten schools. Go to saveourdinos.org to learn more.
Welcome back. Nebraska Nightly's Evie Storjohn has your 7-day forecast. Evie?
Thank you so much, Macy and Elena. So looking at the almanac, we can see that the high for today is 56 and the low is 34, which is pretty similar to the average. The record high for March 24th is from 1967 at a whopping 83 degrees, and the low is from 1965 at 7. Right now, we are sitting at a mostly sunny 54 degrees, with wind gusts looking at 5 to 10 miles per hour coming from the southwest. Tonight, we're going to have increasing cloud cover with a low of 42 degrees and a minuscule chance of rain. Tomorrow morning, we're still going to have some of those clouds, but the high will be at 55 degrees. However, it will still feel a little colder because of wind gusts up to 10 to 15 miles per hour coming from the northwest. And then tomorrow night, we're also seeing cloud cover with a low of 30 degrees. Looking at the week ahead, we can see that the temperatures take a little bit of a drop after tomorrow, with a low chance of rain tomorrow and Sunday, and a chance of storms on Thursday and Friday. The temperatures will rise a bit in the middle of the week and drop back down later. And if you're going to the baseball game at Haymarket Park tonight, you might want to take a jacket. Macy and Elena, any outdoor plans for the weekend?
I don't have any, but you know, it's starting to feel like spring finally, so I might have to get outside.
I'm super excited for that warm weather. I just want a 170-degree day and I'll be so happy. When looking for a pet to adopt, most people check their local animal shelter first. But shelters in Lincoln and Omaha have additional options. Nebraska News Service's Chloe Sander reports on what other animals you can adopt.
These are the normal sights and sounds associated with animal shelters. But each year, Nebraska shelters receive animals like this guinea pig, Lettuce.
When we say critters, talking about animals like rabbits and guinea pigs, hamsters, gerbils, rats, mice, ferrets, birds like parakeets and cockatiels.
We get in snakes and turtles and lizards and geckos and, you know, the occasional bearded dragon.
Last year, over 1,400 of these critters were taken in by the Lincoln's Capital Humane Society and Omaha's Nebraska Humane Society.
And last year was the most that have come in the last 10 years.
In 2022, the two groups found homes for over 85% of these animals. Both attributed their success partly to social media.
People look and share, and then they look at other animals on the critter website.
The shelter said these critters are most commonly adopted by families with young children.
Maybe they're not ready to take on the responsibility of a dog or a cat, but they want to start somewhere with kind of teaching their child proper pet ownership and how to take care of an animal.
When looking to adopt any animal, but especially critters, shelters want you to give them a call first.
They are here. We do have them. And you're still rescuing, saving a life, and giving a second chance to a pet.
Just this past week, 25 parakeets came in the door. So if anybody's looking for a parakeet right now, we got lots of parakeets looking for homes.
To learn more about adopting little critters, you can call the Capital Humane Society or your local animal shelter. Reporting for the Nebraska News Service, this is Chloe Sander and Pinky.
I would love to have a bird if I had the time to take care of one.
Yeah.
They're so cute.
I think they're a lot of responsibility, though, so
Yes.
I don't know if I can do that. The International Quilt Museum had a big day on Saturday. It was National Quilting Day. To celebrate, the museum hosted a full day for quilt enthusiasts to learn more about the craft and try some different needlework techniques. The International Quilt Museum is home to more than 10,000 quilts from 68 countries, while the technical definition of a quilt is 2 pieces of fabric sandwiching some padding. There's a lot more to it than that. Life member and volunteer Sheila Green says quilts are a piece of history and culture, and they embody the communities that create them.
What makes a quilt and what makes quilting is people and the community of people. You know, it's a social aspect. It's when you're with people that enjoy what you enjoy. That's what quilt making's all about.
Green has several quilts in the museum's collection and doesn't plan on stopping anytime soon. But until her next project, she enjoys teaching the younger generation about the art of quilt making.
Coming up after the break,
a look into the quickly approaching spring game
and how the women's basketball team has been progressing in the WNIT.
Plus, Nebraska wrestling having a successful end of their 2023 season, all coming up after the break.
Of the 40 million tons of plastic waste generated in the U.S. in 2021, only 5%, or 2 million tons, was recycled. Make sure you do your part in keeping Anderson Hall clean. For more information on recycling statistics, visit epa.gov today.
It's a busy time for Nebraska athletics. Nebraska Nightly's Trey Marler has the latest on all things Husker sports.
Thanks, Macy. All eyes are on the Hawks Championship Center as year one under new head coach Matt Rule has officially started with spring practice. With a new head coach means new coaches and possibly new identities. But football is football, and for new coordinators Marcus Satterfield and Tony White, they're looking to establish a team based on two things: physicality and mentality.
We're going to strive to be what we're come into this world to be, which is physical and tough, and run the football, and take care of the football, and keep the defense off the field, and that's what we're striving to do.
And making sure that the mentality is right, and right now, being the first day in pads and all that stuff, I think that's the most important thing, is establishing how we are going to play. X and O's, they will take care of themselves, film study, they getting stuff on the grass, all that stuff, but the mentality is the most important thing right now, and that's the thing we got to work on.
Another challenge that comes with spring practice is a clash of new and old players beginning to work together. And whether you're a returning player such as Natch Hutchmacher or a new guy like Billy Kemp, the singular focus on this Matt Rule staff is on the team.
Tells us what the standard is, and it's up to us, the players, to enforce the standard throughout the team. And I think that's a great way to have the leaders of the team step up, and that's ultimately what a team needs, is for the team to ultimately run the team.
It's not their standards, it's our standards, actually. It's everything we talk about. It's not theirs, them coming in new, it's ours. It's the entire team's, it's what we're doing, not what they're doing.
Spring game is set to kick off at 1 p.m. on Saturday, April 22nd inside Memorial Stadium. The Nebraska women's basketball team had a postseason title on their minds as they continue to make their way through the WNIT bracket, and last night they squared off against the Kansas Jayhawks in the Super 16. The game may have been on the road, but Jazz Shelley felt right at home early, knocking down the three from the wing, but back come the Jayhawks. This time it's Chandler Prater with a sweet dish to the corner as Zakiya Franklin knocks it down. More from the Huskers. This time it's Kendall Moriarty from beyond the arc. Huskers trailed 30-25 at the break. To the second half, and it's Moriarty again for three, this time from the corner. The lead has been cut down to 4 by the Huskers. Late in the game now, and it's Chandler Prater going coast to coast for the lay-in. The Husker season comes to an end, losing to the Jayhawks 64-55. It was a successful close to the 2023 Husker wrestling campaign as they finished the weekend in Tulsa, placing 8th in the country. Liam Cronum finished 5th in the 125-pound weight class. Brock Hardy placed 6th in the 141-pound weight class. Peyton Robb finished 6th in the 157-pound weight class. And Mikey Labriola topped off his senior season with a second-place finish in the 174-pound weight class.
Thanks, Trey. I've really been watching wrestling this season, and I am totally impressed with what those guys do.
8th in the country is so impressive, and it's really cool.
Coming up after the break, a look at the Book of Mormon heading to the Lead Center.
Plus, Lincoln Pius will be putting on Cinderella.
And how a 90-year-old tortoise is officially a dad.
Hey, hey, ho, ho. These racist dogs have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. These racist dogs have got to go.
Toilets can use 5 to 7 gallons per flush, making it the main source of water use in a home. You can lose more than 20 gallons of water a day from a single drippy faucet. Kitchen faucets use about 1.5 to 2 gallons per minute, whereas older faucets use more water. Wasting water is wasting time. Stop water waste now.
From dancing Mormons to appreciation for your fluffy friends, entertainment is booming this weekend.
That's right. Entertainment correspondent Evan Donlinger has the scoop. Evan, what's going on this weekend?
Thanks, guys. How would you like to see a musical that New York Times labeled as the best musical of the century? This weekend, Lead Center will host shows of the Broadway tour of the Book of Mormon. Follow elders Price and Cunningham as they venture to Africa to spread their word in Scripture. While this musical comedy is sure to have you laughing your lungs out, the musical does contain some adult themes and language. More information can be found at the Lead Center's website. Are you looking for an excuse to spoil your dog this weekend? This Saturday and Sunday, the Lancaster Event Center will host the I Love My Dog Expo. This event will have multiple opportunities and vendors in which attendants can purchase items and toys for their dogs. There will also be multiple fun activities provided, as well as an opportunity to purchase yourself a new puppy. More information can be found on lincoln.org. For those looking to learn a bit about starting their own restaurant, UNL's Innovation Campus has you covered. The Recipe to Reality seminar is taking place in the Scarlet Hotel this Saturday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. The seminar is the first phase of the National Food Entrepreneur Program and aims to give food industry hopefuls months' worth of research all in one day. Visit events.unl.edu for more information. The 95th Academy Awards took place this last week and was a landmark event for many reasons. The film Everything Everywhere All at Once won the night with 7 total Oscars, including 3 acting awards and the grand prize at the end of the show, Best Picture. Michelle Yeoh made history as the first Asian American woman to win the Oscar for Best Actress and only the second woman of color to win the award. For a full list of winners and nominees, visit the Academy's website at oscars.org. And that's your entertainment for the week.
90 is a little up there to be a dad, wouldn't you say? Well, don't tell that to Mr. Pickles. These are his kids. Mr. Pickles is a radiated tortoise who lives at the Houston Zoo, and he's the oldest animal at the zoo. He and his mate, Mrs. Pickles, have been together since her arrival in the zoo in 1996. These cuddly baby reptiles are dill, gherkin, and jalapeno. Even though 90 may not be so old for a tortoise, it is a surprise the zoo when Mrs. Pickles laid eggs. A quick-thinking worker spotted her laying them at the zoo when the zoo was closing, and experts snatched them up. That's because these eggs probably couldn't hatch in Texas soil since it is so different from the animal's native Madagascar. The baby pickles are more important because radiated tortoises are critically endangered. They've been over-collected for the illegal pet trade, and they don't produce many offspring.
Well, that's pretty cool that they got to, since they're endangered, to hatch more eggs for sure.
I would love to have a tortoise if I could.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Nebraska Nightly. We'll see you next week.